Hello and welcome back to your C# programming course. In this lesson, we're going to be learning about nested if statements and additional operators. In the previous lesson, we covered the basics of creating an if statement. We saw its capabilities and we now know how it is used in our computers today. With this in mind, we can create more complex if statements to suit the conditions we want to be met. For example, let's say we have multiple conditions that need to be met, and we want to create an if statement that can work with that. So once more, I'm going to create a num value, and I'm going to give it a value of 35. I want to create an if statement that will check to see if the num's value is above 30, and then I want to create another if statement that will check if it's below 40. And I want both these conditions met before I can run a line of code. Well, I can make use of what is known as a nested if statement to check that. I'll first create a single if statement with the first condition that I want to be met. For example, is num greater than, and let's say equal to, 30. And I'll create a set of curly brackets just like before. Next, I want to make sure a second condition is met. Well, I would simply put an if statement within an if statement. This is why they are called nested if statements. It's one if statement nested within another. And I'll put in the next condition, which is num is less than, but not inclusive of, 40. And I'll just simply say console.write line and a message, all conditions met. With that written out, let's test out this nested if statement by running the program. Now all conditions have been met as we have a value of 35. But if we have a value of, let's say, 25, it prints conditions not met and there's a 1 at the end, so that means it is filling this condition here in the first else statement. If I change the value now to, let's say, 40 or higher, so I'll put 46, it prints conditions not met 2. So the first if statement was fulfilled, so this else would not run. Then this if statement was tested, but the condition was proved false, so this else statement ran, and it printed conditions not met 2. That is the fundamentals of a nested if statement, and we can have as many if statements within if statements as we want. We can even include if statements in our else statements as well, so that way we can go even more complex if a condition is not met. However, we can simplify this particular case with what is known as an additional operator. We don't always have to use if statements, and in some cases it may be very necessary that we do. But in this case, we can make use of an additional operator to make sure we check 2 conditions within one if statement. So let's just remove these lines of code here and make use of an additional operator. An additional operator is simply a set of characters that we add after a condition to tell our if statement that 2 conditions or more need to be met. This set of characters is 2 AND symbols. And then we type in our next condition, like so. So if I change now the value back to 35, it says all conditions met, which is correct. If I change it to something below 30, such as 29, and run the code, it says conditions not met. And if I change it to 40, or value that's higher, it also says conditions not met. This is because it knows that one condition is met, or the other, but not both of them. As a result, the Boolean value for this condition would be false. And it goes straight down to using the console.write line in the else statement. So we've saved ourselves some lines of codes and complications with just the use of this additional operator. Now there is a second additional operator that we can make use of, the OR operator, while this is the AND operator. The OR operator is simply these two vertical lines, or shift / on your keyboard. What this OR operator means for this if statement is that if one of these conditions is met, num greater than or equal to 30, or num less than 40, the code will run. In other words, if this condition is met, or this condition is met, the code will run. If both are met, it will still run. It is only if neither are met that it won't run. But as we can see from these two conditions, no matter what value of num we have, it will always prove true, because if one of them isn't met, the other will surely be met. So let's just adjust this a bit further. If num is greater than 30, or num is less than 25. So we have a small window of values that can be used that will run if none of these conditions are met. And that is between 30 itself and 25. So at the moment I have 40, so one of these conditions is met, and it says all conditions met. If I change it to, let's say, 24 and run the code, it says all conditions met. But if I make the value 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, then none of the conditions are met, and it says conditions not met. Now there are definitely particular cases where an OR additional operator should be used, and there are situations where an AND operator should be used. It is best to keep these variations in mind, as you may encounter a program requiring you to create a nested if statement, or simply make use of an additional operator. With that said, this lesson has come to an end. Be sure to complete the exercise in your workbook, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we will learn how to retrieve user input. I'll see you then. Bye for now.